Before we dive into the show, if you're looking to make some picks on the NFL playoffs, check out Underdog Fantasy's Pick'em game. You just choose higher or lower between 2 to 8 players, and you can win up to 1,000 times your entry. If you click the link in the description and use code RULE, you'll get up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick. We'll be using Underdog to make some picks throughout the rest of the NFL playoffs, so thank you to them. And they have plenty of other sports on tap as well. So click the link in the description, use our code RULE, and get up to $1,000 bonus cash and a free pick.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Payton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Monday, February 3rd, and Missouri men's basketball proved us wrong, gentlemen. It proved we can indeed do a super deep dive preview, and it actually results in a well, I guess it still resulted in a blowout, but not in the way we expected. I was thinking back a lot, Kenny, to what you said at the end of that, our preview, and just how we'll go so into depth in some of these games with lineups and tinkering and all this stuff, and it'll end in a blowout. For the other team, it did not. Missouri went down to Starkville, Mississippi, and absolutely whomped Mississippi State 88-61 in what was obviously the biggest basketball news of Saturday, of course. And yeah, just an absolutely massive win, not only in the margin of victory, I believe second biggest victory in Mizzou history against a ranked team was the thing I saw. It comes over, obviously, Payton alluded to Missouri played Alabama, Mississippi State played Alabama, Mizzou had the off week, but this is a massive win, another top 15 win on the road for Missouri. I couldn't really believe what I was watching for much of this game as this blowout continued to happen. Missouri got off to its strong start. I really love how well this team starts games, and I was kind of waiting for that, that Mississippi State run to come in. When is this going to happen? They're going to cut it down and okay, maybe this will be a rock fight in Starkville, which is, I think, still better than we were expecting pregame. And it just never happened. Missouri just dominated from start to finish. Guys, this is an awesome performance. Mizzou is if we didn't already know they were legit, this team is legit. And what a win down in Starkville.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else. If you're the committee making brackets, you really need to see at this moment in time. I mean, after this win, Mizzou shot up in every single metric possible. They're 15 on Torvik, 23 on Ken Palm, 21 in the net rankings. This is, quite frankly, anything lower than a 5 seed, I think, is kind of insulting at this point. This team is very clearly good, and they have the resume and the metrics to back it up. This isn't fool's gold like maybe the first team under Dennis Gates was a bit, where some of the things that when you dug a little deeper didn't look great. This team does pretty much everything well. And I mean, I don't want to get too in depth with just the opening statement like I sometimes am prone to do.
He's learning, Kevin.
But I mean, there comes a time where you're just watching something happen for your team and you're like, wow, I'm never going to see this in my life again. And I really feel like I'm starting to get to that point with Caleb Grill. I mean, it's not even just that he's making all these threes. Some of the threes he's making are just unbelievable. I mean, his 5th and 6th 3-pointers were just crowd silencers to end all crowd silencers. It has just been an all-world season for him. Probably the biggest key, I'd say, to Missouri having the season it's had has been him. That's all I'll say for the opening part, because he kind of nailed it, Jack. I mean, this is just the win that I think kind of is another nail in the coffin of like doubting if this Mizzou team is good or not.
Yeah, it felt like going into it, and I want to go back to what you said, Jack, about, sometimes when we go really in depth, things don't really end up, panning out for Missouri or for whoever we thought was going to win this game. I think coming into it, we thought this would be more of a dogfight, pun intended there, with Mississippi State, but it's just like it's just something that we'll never probably see like again on the road. I think it's just one of those things where coming into it, you thought maybe there was an opportunity for Mizzou to sneak out a win, maybe keep it a little bit close, but I don't think anyone expected this. And I think that's just kind of shows you what the culture is behind this program. Not really, they're embracing like the something to prove that. I mean, Mizzou football has been doing for a long time. The shushing of the crowd.
Oh, I love it.
I'll put it on the screen right now for those watching on the YouTube. It just seems like it's such a massive culture. And Josh Gray, who had 10 points off the bench, he mentioned in a in a press conference this past week saying one of his biggest mistakes wasn't coming here sooner. And I think that just kind of shows you where this program is. 100 wins in Dennis Gates' career now. And I think that just kind of goes back to a lot of the culture that's been built over the past 6 years of him being a head coach, 3 of those being at Missouri. And a lot of these guys have just bought in so quickly. And it's just, I don't think anyone would have expected this, coming into the year. This team is 3rd in the SEC right now. And I think if you told any of us that, we would have laughed at you. My last thing I just want to throw out there as well, and it's been said multiple times, but I think coming into this game, we were like, okay, Anthony Robinson could have a big role, playing some frustrating defense. I think that was one of my big points that I said in our preview. The guy was in foul trouble again. He had 6 turnovers. He was playing a little bit reckless early on. He was the only one that got over 3 fouls in this game. And your point guard sits out and only plays 16 minutes, and you win 88-61. It just really shows you the culture and just how deep this team is and how much everyone just buys into each other.
Payton, you looked like you were going to say something. I was going to let
No. I
thought you
agree
were going to
completely with Kenny. I mean, you get 6 turnovers and 4 fouls. 6 turnovers and 3 fouls in the first half, and they were up 14 at halftime. I mean, it was just total domination. I mean, Mark Mitchell took 4 shots. We thought maybe he'd be a big one. We were talking about how like T.O. Barrett and Marcus Allen might play key roles in this game. We were wondering if they'd start, and they played a combined 3 minutes, and I think all of them were from T.O. Barrett. I don't even think Marcus Allen made his way in. It was Mizzou's normal guys went out and dominated a team that everyone, myself included, thought was a very formidable team. I mean, I was a big believer in this Mississippi State team, but it was just, this team is very good. Clearly, Missouri. It was never really in doubt. Like, once they started to pull away in the first half, they never took their foot off the gas.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at their next 3 games and I said to myself, if they can get one of them, I'll be ecstatic. And obviously that's still on the table to happen. They already got it. I would not have expected. And for sure, when I looked at it was Mississippi State. Obviously, then they go to Tennessee, and then it's A&M at home. I for sure was the most confident if I had to pick in that A&M game just back at home. Obviously, Missouri's undefeated there, whatever. And to go out and do it again on the road and to dominate on the road. And we saw Florida come back, but they were up big in that game too. And like this team just shows up, and Kenny mentioned it. If you don't think culture is the most important thing on a college basketball team, like from a, just like a turnaround perspective from a season ago, or just trying to build a program, I don't know what you're doing, because Dennis Gates is single-handedly showing you why that's the case. This team was 0-18 last year, recouped a good amount of that talent. I know they, obviously had some big acquisitions, didn't mess around in the transfer portal. That was a big talking point for us all offseason, whatever. But like, it's just, you can tell how different of a buy-in there is and how different of a culture it is. And it shows. This team is legit. Let's go into how they did it. Just breaking down this game specifically. And we do need to start with the man off the bench, Caleb. Just shoot it, grill. 20 points, 6 of 11 from 3. Where did we land on the Mississippi town that he shot the 4th one from? Was it Vicksburg? Where did we land on that? We were going back and forth. I know.
Our good friend Chase Madison, who is in mourning right now,
we'll
thoughts and prayers with Chase. He determined it was Greenville, Mississippi.
Okay,
if I'm not mistaken.
So he hit one from Greenville, Mississippi. I mean, this is the SEC 6th Man of the Year. And Payton, you know what? I had a thought, and I would like y'all to take you just more on Grill and what you liked about him today. I had a thought when you said that about this is a player and performances I might not see ever again. It's probably surpassed this. But I feel like I get the same vibes with him as how I remembered like Drew Smith in that last season, where you're just like, this guy's doing unconscious things in one area of the court. And like, it's just so much fun to watch. And I can't really believe what I'm seeing. Cause I guess Caleb Grill, we knew he had this shooting in him, but obviously coming back from the injury, I don't think we expected it to be this, but I mean, this is the SEC Sixth Man of the Year. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I would say it's surpassed what Drew Smith did. I love Drew Smith. He was excellent in that last season. I think he should have won SEC Player of the Year over the one who did it, because the person who did win it had worse stats in every single category than Drew Smith did. But I mean, Caleb Grill, I mean, he's 49 for 100, 49 for 100 from 3-pointers. Drew Smith would help you win a game, would really just enhance your team. I mean, Caleb Grill is wrecking games. I mean, there was just it was like he nailed a couple of those 3-pointers, and Mississippi State, it was like they took a knockout punch. They were never the same team, especially after the Greenville, Mississippi 3-pointer. A fun game I'm playing now is like I'm going back and watching these Caleb Grill 3-pointers and just looking at opposing student sections as he's hitting them. The disbelief that just grows and grows. I've never seen someone be able to just I've seen players take over games, but not quite as consistently and in just the same dominant fashion Caleb Grill has done this year. I mean, it's like teams know what the Mizzou is trying to do. They're trying to get Caleb Grill these open looks, trying to work him into good shots, and they're just unable to throw him off. And even if they are playing like decent defense, forcing him into these really deep threes. I mean, there was one 3 where he literally just stared a guy down like from 5 feet off the wing and took it anyway, and it was like not even a big thing. It was just I've never seen a player just be able to just get that unconscious so consistently like Caleb Grill has.
He's Jack Golke with a fade, is what I kind of thought. I mean, the guy is just like, even in this game, there have been other instances where he's picked up, handful of rebounds and assists and steals, like you mentioned, kind of the frustrating defense that he can play to opponents. He had 1 rebound and 2 assists, and that was it. I mean, that's all else he had to his name. The guy was just shooting out of his mind. I really love the unconscious kind of tag on him and how he plays. And I think you can lump it into, like, I like to call this, they're the older guys on the team, Caleb Grill, Josh Gray, and Jacob Cruz. And funny enough, they're all like, they all have numbers in the 30s, and you could tell me they're all 30 plus, and I believe you. I mean, they're just the older guys on the team, and they scored 39 points combined off the bench. And I think that was just massive for this team. Josh Gray was the only guy with a double-double for Missouri in this game with 11 rebounds and 10 points. And Jacob Cruz did his own banging 3 threes for 9 points. So, good group of older guys really contributing to this team. And it just ties into, at times, Josh Gray hasn't had the best stretches. But sometimes he's on the floor and, it's like 10 rebounds, no points. He's playing to who he is and what his role is. Jacob Cruz at times isn't playing probably the best defense or isn't taking the best shots, but he still can, bang it from 3. It's just one of those things where these 3 older guys on the team, you put them all together. That's a pretty nice bench crew for this team.
Well, I was going to say it's a testament to the depth too. And I feel like Josh Gray, the best example of what you're talking about, Kenny, was the game was over in the second half and he went lumbering into the stands trying to chase down an offensive rebound. I think he might have got called for a foul. I wasn't watching the game with the sound on at that time, so I don't know what happened, but he walked over to Dennis Gates and Dennis is yelling at him and Josh Gray looked pissed and they're winning the game by 20 plus at this point. And it's he's still putting in that kind of effort. And yeah, to have that kind of depth, it speaks to, we've talked about the culture and kind of the rebuild in that respect, but obviously roster wise, this team is just so much deeper. It is so nice to have a guy like Josh Gray, that rim protecting kind of stopper big that can just do so much to help you on both ends of the floor, have a presence in the paint. Because obviously Mark Mitchell is great, but there's only so much sometimes that a 6'8" guy can do to have just that big 7-footer. He makes his free throws too, Josh Gray. He went 0 for 1, I think, 2 for 3 in this game. He's up in that percentage a little bit. I
think he's still sub 50, Jack.
You know what? No, he makes them in big moments though. He had those 2 in the Kansas game. He had some against Florida.
This team only took 10 free throws in the entire game, which is also nuts.
Yeah. And that's another thing we've been talking about is their ability to draw fouls. And again, it speaks to kind of that offensive versatility. They can hurt you in so many ways because if Caleb Grill is being run off the line or his shot is just not falling, which I guess hasn't really been the case yet this year, has it? But if he's able to get kind of screened out of games, they have other ways to attack you. But that was a good tag, Kenny. I was trying to think back. What's a good comp for it? Like, is this how Oakland fans must have felt with Jack Golke? I was trying to think of like a good comp for that. I was thinking like back in the bubble when the Miami Heat had Duncan Robinson and he would just come in and hit like 6 threes. It feels like something like that. Like it's just having that guy that oh no, everyone fears him when he checks in and he just goes nuts. But yeah, Caleb Grill, cannot say enough about him. I want to ask too, just about like the offensive stuff. It's a good meme. Give us a follow on x.com, the everything app, the Unwritten Rule. We have some good content. Shameless plug. I want to get into that too, with just this offense in general, Payton and Kenny, and kind of just the firing on all cylinders. They averaged 1.35 points per possession. I know this is not as classic of a Chris Jans Mississippi State team that we know. They're actually not. They're better on offense than they are on defense this season, which isn't the usual case. But they still have a capable defense. And Missouri shredded them. Caleb Grill and others. I mean, I mentioned that 1.35. Kenny, you mentioned Josh Gray, 10 and 11. Tamar Bates, 14, 3 and 3 is a good game for him. Tony Perkins, 8 points, 5 assists. They shot 47% from 3 as a team. What did you like offensively when you were watching this? What was working against Mississippi State's defense? Maybe you look back at those matchups we talked about and just how they got things going. And obviously Caleb Grill is a big part of that. But what else did you see offensively from Missouri?
Well, I mean, it's got to be the 15 for 32 from deep. I mean, that was really, the key of the game. They went 9 for 19 in the first half. I believe SEC Now had a statistic where that was in SEC play this year. That's the second most a team has hit in SEC play in the first half this year. I believe first was Alabama hitting 10 against A&M, if I'm not mistaken. But that was, that's kind of the difference maker. Tamar hit a couple. Really, it was just everyone kind of getting in on the action. Mark Mitchell made one early. Perkins opened the scoring with his only 3-point attempt of the game. Pierce got one off a beautiful set play. And maybe, this is a big one. I think Jacob Cruz being able to come in and give you 3 made 3-pointers is massive. If he can be a guy that comes in and makes even just 1 or 2 consistently, I think that's a big-time ceiling raiser for them. Josh Gray had easily his best offensive game. If you get 10 and 11 out of Josh Gray, every time they get that line out of him, I think they're going to win a game. There's just no way that I can see Missouri losing a game if they get 10 points out of Josh Gray. But really, it's got to be the 3-pointers. Mississippi State just had no answer there. It was a large part of that is Caleb Grill, but 2 for 3 from Bates, 1 from Pierce, 1 from Perkins, 1 from Mitchell. That all adds up.
I think that the thing you like there too is the efficiency of it. It's not just like one guy that, I'm going to subtract Caleb Grill from this conversation just because, he did go 7 for 12. But outside of that, no one had more than 5 misses. No one had more than 4 misses. And I think that just kind of speaks to no one was trying to shoot themselves into getting hot in this game. And that does speak to the depth of this team and the culture and understanding of, guys like Mark Mitchell. Yeah, you expect him to possibly put up 15 in this game, but put up 7 on 2 for 4 from the field and 1 for 1 or 100% from 3. It kind of just shows you that, they trust other guys around the team. They know that they can do a little bit more just in the rebounding game, passing game, on defense as well. Mark Mitchell picked up 2 blocks and 2 steals again. Tony Perkins having 8 points, and then you look down, like I mentioned, on those guys in the 30s, with Caleb Grill having 20, Josh Gray having 10, and Jacob Cruz having 9, and all pretty efficient numbers. And I think that's something that you just kind of credit to this team that, getting deeper into SEC play, no one is, trying to take over the game in their own sense and missing shots. And I want to subtract Caleb Grill just from that conversation, just because how he plays compared to some other guys. But it seems like everyone kind of recognizes, who has the hot hand and embraces that. No one's trying to outshoot their teammates or anything like that. It's just all about efficiency, and I think those numbers really speak to just how cohesive this offense is.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think efficiency, and just I go back to there's just multiple ways they can hurt this team, or you can hurt other teams. I mean, they didn't have to live at the line in this game, but they got paint touches. I mean, they outscored Mississippi State 30-22 in the paint. They had more rebounds than them. They turned their 10-0 boards into 12 second chance points. So when you're able to establish a little bit of a paint presence and just get touches, it opens up obviously so much because you start having to respect that. Then Caleb Grill can run around free, and guys like Jacob Cruz can get open. You get these kick out threes and create so much more offense that way. So I think their interior kind of offense deserves a little bit of praise too. But yeah, I mean, when you can go that unconscious and not have to worry about getting to the free throw line or living there because you can create so much live ball offense, not have to draw fouls to get points. I mean, I think that's really, really big. And then you flip to the other side of the ball, and how they kind of try or slowed down, or at least tried to slow down Mississippi State. To me, it's a storyline of, you let Josh Hubbard and to an extent Keyshawn Murphy get theirs and then just shut everyone else down. I mean, they only forced 11 turnovers, which, is still a decent amount. They committed 11 themselves. They turned those turnovers into 17 points though, which I thought was really big. I think they were capitalizing a lot on their giveaways. But what did you guys like defensively? I feel like one thing I think back, we talk about the front court, for Mississippi State, they had Melendez and Michael Nwako, that 6'10" big. Those two combined for 5 points and 5 rebounds. They were both double digits in the box plus minus rating. I felt like neither of them really were able to get a foothold in the game. And I think that's a lot of credit to Mizzou's defense. This turnover generating thing is clearly, a big thing they hang their hat on too. What do you guys like defensively on how they kind of shut Mississippi State out, with the exception of Josh Hubbard is just really good at basketball?
I mean, Hubbard had 24, but I mean, most of those really kind of came when the game was just kind of, I mean, it was in the 20s when he started to get going again in the second half. He was great in the first half, don't get me wrong. But the second half, they did a much better job of taking him out of rhythm until it was way too late. Didn't let him get to spots where he liked to shoot, clearly. And I think you kind of said it, Knowlton, like in the preview, like maybe this is a game where you let Hubbard get his and just take everyone else out of the game. They did that. Cameron Matthews only had 6. Harris only had 6. And he only made 1 3-pointer and was 2 for 9 from the field. So that was excellent. Riley Kugel going 0 for 5 was huge. I mean, they pitched a shutout against him. He's been around in the SEC for a good minute. So, I mean, to be able to shut a player like that out is pretty phenomenal. This team is just, we kind of always questioned in Dennis's first 2 years, like, why do they keep switching everything? Why do they play this style of defense? I mean, now we see why, because they have the athletes to do it now. And when they have the personnel to do it, it is just so disruptive, so hard to play against. They're a fun team to watch play defense. Like, I would not have thought I would have said that a few years ago, but they are legitimately fun to watch on both ends of the floor.
Mississippi State had 8 guys that played 12 or more minutes in this game. If you do subtract, Josh Hubbard, who expected to have a strong offensive performance, and then Keyshawn Murphy, who had 16 off the bench, those 6 other guys combined for 21. And I think that just kind of shows you just, the focus was on Josh Hubbard. Offensively, that was the guy from Mississippi State. But, if there were times where Josh Hubbard only put up, 13 in the first half and then struggled from 3 in the second, how are you going to, subtract anyone else from this game offensively if Mississippi State looks to anyone else? And they did that. And I think that really speaks to Mizzou's game plan. And I think we were kind of over evaluating it a little too much, thinking about maybe there would be some more freshmen in that starting 5, maybe some more defensive guys. And I think,
in fairness, Dennis also does that.
Yeah. And I think that was one of the things where Dennis didn't overthink it. Dennis and his crew really just stood with their guys that have been playing well over these past couple of weeks. So just the normal starting 5 and the guys off the bench that have been performing well and meeting those matchups. And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, I need to go back and watch again, but on a couple looks, I thought the 3-2 zone stuff, and this is where we go back to our debate where it's like this team versus the 2023 team that went to the NCAA tournament, and that team was really kind of fun to watch defensively too, with guys like Demoy Hodge and just how they were able to kind of pick teams' pockets and get on runouts and stuff. And this team does that too. But again, this game showed they have that another level of defensive organization and just like tactical stuff that I think makes it even better. And I want to go back because I thought the 3-2 zone kind of like shell was doing a good job of like, keeping the ball out of Josh Hubbard's hands from letting him like isolate too much. But I think it just they're more bought into that philosophy, and even it's something Dennis wants to play. And when it doesn't work, yes, we've seen the worst of it, but this team's clearly bought into that. And when it does, it plays some very real and very tough defense to get through. So I thought that was excellent. This was an awesome game. I can't wait to rewatch this game. I'm just still stunned when I look at this final score. You make a good point about Kugel too. My last thing defensively, holding him to over with 3 turnovers is tough. That guy was averaging over 10 points a game off the bench. He's a legit scorer. He's a clutch player for them. That's really big, I think, for Mizzou from an individual matchup perspective. Payton mentioned it at the top, the 23rd in Ken Pom, 15th in Torvik, which is just insane. Apparently a graphic was shown on SEC Network today. Lenardi has them as a 5 seed. I assume he'll release a full bracket, updated one in the next couple days. We don't have one at the time we're recording. So my last thing for you gentlemen, feel free to add any thoughts, but I'm going to do this again. Prediction. Where do they land in the AP on Monday when the listeners are listening to this show and the poll comes out?
I think they have to be like a top 15 at this point. They came into this week 20, right?
Yep.
I don't see how you hold them below a top 15 at this point. So I'll say 14.
Kenny?
Yeah, the number that just kept coming to mind after this game was 15. I don't think you always make like just massive leaps, just with one game in the week. But when you go on the road and beat a team that was ranked higher than you by this much, you're going to get, rewarded for it. You don't have a loss to Texas on the road in that same week. So I think 15 is definitely the floor, and I think I'm just going to take the floor.
I'll ask this question. Do they get ranked above Kansas after they lost to Baylor on Saturday?
What was Kansas ranked?
Kansas was 11th. So I think it'll be
I think there's a good chance they are.
Yeah.
And they probably should be.
What'd you say, Kenny?
Kansas 16, Missouri 15.
Missouri 15. Oh, the screenshots of that are going to go crazy. All right, there you go. I think I agree. I'll go slightly lower. I went a slightly lower floor last time too. I'll go 16 and Kansas 17. Just see if that can happen. Yeah, it's this team's fun. This team is legit good, and they go again in another tough game, but one where I'm like, shoot, who knows at this point, because didn't think they were going to beat Mississippi State, and now they're going to play Tennessee this coming week on what is that, Tuesday, Wednesday? I can't do math. On SEC Network. Wednesday, sorry. Wednesday at 6 p.m. SEC Network, Mizzou, Tennessee in Thompson Bowling Arena. Remember what happened last time Mizzou went over to good old Thompson Bowling Arena and played a ranked Volunteers team? Because I do. What do you guys think about this game?
Too. Well, there's no DeAndre Golston walking through the door for this one, but maybe they don't need him. Tennessee just had about as gritty a win as you can get over Florida. They're banged up. Zakai Ziegler might not play.
Saying that a 20-point win is gritty, but that is Tennessee for you.
I mean, but they're banged up. No Zakai Ziegler. Man, tickets only $3 for this game. That's nuts. Zakai Ziegler may not play in this one. He didn't play against Florida. That would be pretty big for Missouri. I think that gives them a big advantage. Look, we know what Missouri wants to do. They want to force turnovers offensively. It becomes a lot easier if you don't have an experienced point guard running your offense. So I would still wager, like, eventually Missouri has to kind of cool a bit. It's hard to win on the road in this conference. Tennessee is a very good team as well. I would lean on the side of Missouri losing this game, but like you said, Knowlton, at this point, there's like one team I don't think Missouri can beat in this conference on any given day, and it's Auburn. They could absolutely go in there and beat Tennessee. They're good enough to do it. But sometimes you're going to have games where shots don't fall. That's kind of what happened against Texas. Missouri has, it wouldn't shock me if Missouri won this game, but I would probably guess that they won't.
Tennessee, I know some of you guys probably listening, probably watched this game too, leading up to the Missouri game. What like a weird contest against Florida? Like the one you're coming off, 24-21 after the first half, but really pulled away with 40 points to 23 points in the second half, and just poor shooting percentages on both sides. But the thing that really pops off to me about the guys or with Ziegler out. Is just how tight this Tennessee rotation is. Only 2 guys off the bench, and Cade Phillips and Bishop Boswell, who combined for 39 points off the bench, and Bishop Boswell only had 11 and really poor shooting, 0 for 3 from the field. So really, it's just like 6 contributors on this Tennessee team. So I think that's just one thing to kind of keep an eye out for on Wednesday. Just it's going to be like a lot of the same faces on the floor, and Missouri probably will have close to 10 that might see action, or a little bit closer to 9. So that was one of the biggest things that just stood out to me when I was looking back on that win for Tennessee over Florida.
Yeah, I am kind of not looking forward to the next 2 games for Missouri. Not because I'm worried about their chances, but because they are absolutely awful, aesthetically not pleasing basketball teams that they're playing against. I don't like this Tennessee team at all. I don't like watching them play. They have the number 1 defense in the country, and so maybe I just hate defense. But I think they're clunky. I don't trust them at all offensively. The game I want to go watch in the lead up to this is Vanderbilt's win over Tennessee. And I want to see what Vanderbilt did in that game, because I feel like, from what I remember watching it the first time, there's some things that Mizzou can maybe emulate from that. Like Kenny said, they're thin. I think if you can figure out a way to score on them, I think you can absolutely win this game. Obviously, Florida failed to do that. They scored less points than Missouri did, I think, with 8 minutes left in the first half on Saturday. So Tennessee absolutely knows its identity. They are 38th in the country on KenPom in offensive rating. I believe the next lowest team that's ranked in KenPom is like St. John's, and they have like the 72nd best offense. So they bring nothing to the table for me there. Then they're going to play Texas A&M after that, who also plays just kind of a sicko brand of basketball. And so aesthetically, I'm not really looking forward to either game, but I really think if Missouri can generate some offense, use its depth to his advantage. I mean, Caleb Grill, if he can do what he did against Mississippi State, they can absolutely beat this Tennessee team. If you go, to me, this is like a 1 kill shot game run from Missouri. If they go on if they can generate a 10-0 run against this Tennessee team, they can win this game. I really do think that. I'm not high on this Tennessee team at all. I won't be shocked if Mizzou loses this, but I think if you can score, you can beat them, especially without Ziegler. They have shown me nothing offensively. So that's me being a Tennessee hater, but we'll see what happens. Last year was the same thing. It's just last year they had Dalton Connect, who was the best scorer in the country. They don't have that anymore. I'm not a big fan. I think their metrics are a little pumped up by their defense, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll be very wrong. And again, Missouri's position now, like Payton said, a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. He could lose this game and live with it for sure. But hopefully it'll be some similar heroics to what we saw a couple years ago in Thompson Bowling. You guys got any final things? Any last words, Payton?
I wish Santiago Vescovi still played for Tennessee. He added like an element of hatred to this game that I really kind of miss. They do still have Jemai Mashak, who I'm not a fan of. I'm surprised that he has not been a big factor for them this year. Just putting up 6 and 4. I would have thought after a couple of years ago he would have been a bigger factor, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully, for Mizzou's sake, they again have to face a thinner rotation, like Kenny mentioned. I mean, only 6 guys for Tennessee scored in that win over Florida. So, I mean, if it's still such a tight rotation, I mean, that plays into Missouri's hands.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't like Tennessee. I don't like Tennessee at all. I don't know how much more I can say it, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. 6 p.m. SEC Network on Wednesday. Man, what a win over Mississippi State, and how that Mizzou men's basketball continues to just trend up. We'll see if they can parlay it into a another win here on the road, and then obviously they come back for a 2-game homestand against A&M and then Oklahoma. So we'll see how that goes. But let's wrap up the show, gentlemen. We'll finish it off with quick hits. Okay, quick hits time. We'll finish out the show. Kenny, do you have a Ken Sports Shorts for us?
I do. Kind of a quick one today. Recording here on Sunday, and 5-star offensive tackle Jackson Cantwell announced his top 6 programs moving forward in his recruitment. Of course, he is from Nixa, Missouri, the son of Christian Cantwell, a Missouri shot put alum and an Olympian. And his top 6 came down to Oregon, Michigan, Georgia, Missouri, Ohio State, and Miami, Florida. The Ken Sports Short this week, and I want to look at Christian Cantwell. We talked about him last weekend and just his Olympic background and then being honored on the floor of a Missouri men's basketball game. But my question for you guys is that he has a medal in the Olympics. He's not just an Olympian. He is a medal winner in the Olympics. Do you guys know what medal he got in what event, in what year? Like which?
I think
Olympics
I do, actually, Payton.
Okay, go ahead.
Can I cook for a second?
Yeah, I think I have an idea. I know the sport, I think, and the medal, but I don't think I know the year.
I think it was bronze in the Beijing games and shot put.
Peyton?
I thought it was gold in shot put. No idea what games. Zero idea.
You guys were close. It was silver in the 2008 Beijing Olympics in shot put. That is his own one. But he has, a couple golds in other events in the World Indoor Championships, the IAAF World Championships, and just some more other ones, and just the Continental Cup and the World Athletics Finals. So very decorated athlete. And of course, his son Jackson is a shot putter as well in the state of Missouri for Nixa. And shout out to his mom as well, Terry Steer Cantwell, who competed in the Olympics, World Finals, and regional finals as well in shot put. Very athletic family. And Jackson said to me in the past 2 weeks that he kind of followed in the family business in some sense, being an athlete in his own right. But she is not a Missouri graduate, though. She went to SMU, but also competed on a very high level, just like her husband, Christian.
Yeah, this is big news, too, in the recruiting sphere. Missouri makes the top 6. No Nebraska, no Texas A&M for Jackson Cantwell. Just took a visit there. We'll see how it goes. Good one, Kenny. I'll go right back to you. Your Tiger in the Wild. What is it?
My Tiger in the Wild goes to Trajan Jeffcoat, former Missouri defensive end.
He was going to say Trajan Greco. He
I
had
was
Trajan Greco in his head.
He ended up.
I'm not letting that slide.
Okay. He ended up with the Saints this past season. He did go on IR, but he signed with a new agency, CMV Sports. So congrats to him for keeping his pro career alive and getting his representation. But continuing on, and I saw a report too that he's kind of signed like a futures deal, so he'll stick around with the Saints moving forward.
Yeah, there we go. Always good to see. We need more Tigers in the NFL. I'm excited for next season when hopefully 2 first-round picks can kind of enter that fray. I guess we'll see. But yeah, congrats to Trajan Jeffcoat. Peyton, your Tiger in the Wild.
My Tiger in the Wild is going to be a 2-piece. It's going to be the Cotton Bowl MVPs themselves, actually playing in Jerry World once again. It's Brady Cook and Johnny Walker Jr. In the Shrine Bowl this past weekend. Brady Cook, see if you're watching on the YouTube, nice back shoulder throw to Will Shepherd. But the highlight from this one was Johnny Walker Jr. strip sacking his Cotton Bowl teammate, Brady Cook. I believe Brady Cook fell right back on top of it, but that's just kind of funny. You see Johnny Walker strip sacking his old teammate. I'm sure they had a laugh about it. So yeah, just cool moment between those two. Missouri seemed to do quite well at the Shrine Bowl.
Bad teammate.
He
didn't get up. I mean, you celebrated.
Oh, yeah,
it looked like he was talking to him after the fact, after they both got up, but he didn't go pick him up.
Do you think Johnny Walker saw the Block M helmet and got like confused for a second and was like, wait, I shouldn't be going after this?
Where's his no contact jersey?
Yeah. Or do you think he saw Brady Cook and he's used to it in practice and he was like, oh, I've been doing this for a month or for years. I'll just go get him. It's just another day.
It's not just though that these two have played on this field before. They were the MVPs of the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
MVP on MVP crime on this one. I also wanted to point out Payton. I think I've seen it before where, like sometimes these guys will get to choose what helmet, but in Missouri's case, it was the last helmet they wore. Do you think if they got to choose, they would choose the Block M?
I don't think Brady Cook probably would. He grew up a Mizzou fan, so he has like more emotional attachment to that. Johnny Walker, maybe he likes the Block M the most. I'd like to think he's more of an oval tiger guy, but who knows, really?
I think he would wear that gold lid that they wore in Tampa for the bowl game in 2022 because it was a little homecoming for him.
It's hideous.
I would
It's
absolutely love
such an ugly helmet.
the writers on the Mizzou beat. This is my task to you: is preseason before the year next year, survey everybody. If Mizzou does like their own media day, survey as many people as you can which helmet is their favorite. Maybe show them a picture, that tier list that's out there of all of them. Have them like pick their top 3.
You know how they choose it, right? What they choose to wear each week?
I don't think I do.
Don't
So all
team
the
captains
seniors-
assign?
The seniors and captains go to Curtis Looper and they
Okay.
talk about what they want to wear this week. And I think they have a little bit less options in years past since they didn't really go to the script this season. But they go to him first and then they talk it over with Drinkwitz before they end up choosing what exactly they'll wear that week.
Oh, I didn't know that. So maybe survey the seniors because they're the ones making the decision and see which ones they like. Get a ranking. That I would enjoy reading that. But yeah, good Tigers in the Wild, Payton. Good luck to both of them. I was trying to find stats. I couldn't find stats anywhere of like how they did, but I assume they also probably didn't play the full game because it's an all-star game. But I didn't see.
Yeah, Johnny Walker did
There you
kind
go.
of ball out.
What is his stats? Read them. This is your Tiger in the Wild.
91.1 PFF grade, 2 sacks, 7 QB pressures, 90.3 pass rush grade. Absolute monster performance.
Boom. Johnny Walker just knows how to win in Jerry World. Cowboys, take notes. Maybe give him a call. Give him a call. Yeah. So best of luck to those two guys. I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see where everyone ends up in the draft. It's gonna be fun. That's always a good time to look forward to when those guys get drafted. My Tigers in the Wild. I got 2 of them technically. Let's go with a little track, fellas. Mizzou, of course. Kenny's been all over the track beat for years. Specifically the new indoor arena, and they a couple of Mizzou athletes fared pretty well. The Dr. Rick McGuire Invitational was, I believe, just over the weekend. A couple program records. Jonathan Sermais, 6.94 meters in the triple jump, which beat a program record. And then Christy Perez Snyman broke a 47-year-old program record in the high jump. And it was the 6th best, I believe, mark in the country so far this season. So a couple of good performances in the new track facility for Mizzou, already paying dividends. But yeah, I think they're like halfway through the season. See how they do. I always enjoy sometimes turning on like the nationals and the SEC championships, seeing whoever gets to go compete. So congrats to the 2 of them. Program records.
Yeah, the turnaround is like early March when they start going outside a little bit more and get into those outdoor meets because track and field goes like beyond the school year sometimes. It just really depends on how well you're performing. So yeah, they are kind of closing out this final month here in the indoor facility. And to set all those records is probably a good sign too that they are competing on a little bit better better playing field.
How much does the surface impact that? Yeah, probably helps a lot. Yeah, so go ahead.
Yeah, it's a good look for the program too.
Yeah. Got to set some new records. So congrats to the 2 of them. Hopefully they can do well in the outdoor space as well when that starts. All right, headlines. Kenny, what's your headline this week?
WNBA has been all about it. Payton's going to get to a trade here in a second, but WNBA had some crazy trades going on. But they had a 3-way trade. The Indiana Fever adding Sophie Cunningham, the mayor of Columbia, a true daughter of the Tigers, going to Indianapolis from Phoenix. If the trade became official here on Sunday, she was posting about it the days leading up to the official announcement, but officially came out today. So now she's at the Indiana Fever with Caitlin Clark, who is the face of the NBA. So massive news for her. Seems like she's excited about it. A little bit closer to home too, in Columbia, and maybe she'll make it back sooner than later. But of course, people see her around town probably every once in a while with how close she is with everyone still here and with her family here. But very cool for for Sophie to move on to a new chapter in her WNBA career.
Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark. I mean, that's box office, folks.
Yeah, that's that
Finally, a
duo's
reason to watch the Indiana Fever.
gonna, that duo
Sophie
is gonna
Cunningham has arrived.
that duo is gonna take over the league. Yeah, this is exciting. Yeah, she's obviously been Phoenix her whole career before, so hopefully her and Caitlin Clark can form an elite duo, take the Fever back to the heights that they were promised when they landed Caitlin Clark. So there you go, building a program. All right, Payton, what's your headline this week? Got more trade talk.
Yeah, this might have been. It's kind of. I'm not typically the NBA guy, but this was a bit silly. So I had to pull it up.
Silly is
The headline reads: Luka Doncic to Lakers, Anthony Davis to Mavs in 3-team trade. Yeah, this was literally dropped out of nowhere. Shams just randomly tweeted the full trade. In a trade so ridiculous, the entire world assumed, like, genuinely, it was near certainty unanimously from everyone. Oh, well, Shams got hacked. Like, that's how ridiculous this trade is. And then Shams had to quote tweet himself with, yes, this is real. Luka Doncic to the Lakers, Anthony Davis to the Mavs. There's other parts of this deal that, quite frankly, do not matter at all because, I mean, this is Luka Doncic to the Lakers and Anthony Davis to the Mavs. Pretty absurd. I have never seen a trade of this magnitude come out of just straight up nowhere. Apparently, it was Dallas themselves that were like interested in making this deal.
They approached LA.
Yeah, never imagined anything like this coming.
Yeah, this is insane. I mean, like, for context, like, I mean, the three of us are the same age. This is the biggest star in his sport to get traded, I think, in our lifetimes. I don't think, especially like mid-season. I mean, I can't think of anybody. He's a top 3 player in the NBA getting moved in the middle of the season at before his peak. He's 25. Like, can you imagine? I mean, none of us are Mavericks fans, and Peyton alluded to our good friend Chase Madison, who is going through it right now, who is a Mavericks fan. I couldn't even imagine what I would react if this was like my favorite team and my favorite superstar at 25 years old just getting up and traded. It's insane. I've enjoyed the discourse of it. Kenny, you got a Luka take?
I have 2 cousins that live in Dallas, DFW area, and each of them have one son that is big into basketball. And one of them, every single photo I see of him, he's wearing a Luka jersey. So I'll start with him first. He's a little bit younger. I think he's in like 1st grade, and his dad told him about the trade this morning, and a little upset at first. And then he said, well, I'm excited to see him play for the Lakers now. I think he's going to just be a Luka fan, and then probably just going to stem into becoming a Laker fan for the rest of his life. And I texted him and I said, I mean, this was the Cowboys' favorite non-NFL trade for Cowboys fans since Juan Soto went to the Yankees. So this is a massive deal for some people that still live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then the other one was just going through it. He's a little bit older. I think he understands it a little bit more. Last time I saw him, he told me that the Astros cheated in the World Series, and I was like, you weren't even born yet, and and so like he understands sports a little bit more just because he's a little bit older, and his dad played college baseball too, so probably talk about it a little bit more in depthly. But he's going through it, so I definitely understand that. I will say, for a guy who hasn't watched like a full NBA game probably since 2020, this brought my eyes back to the sport. I had no idea the Rockets are still in 2nd place in the West. I also had no idea that the Lakers were a top 8 team in the West. I just kind of assumed that they weren't very good anymore. But yeah, this has got my eyes back on the NBA. So good on these teams.
Good on these teams for just doing the most insane shit ever. Yeah, I mean, it's insane. I enjoy the NBA. I was enjoying the discourse. I just like this completely resets any of my mindset towards trades. It's always been, you want to trade a star, you got to give up 1 million picks or future assets. And Mavs just said, nope, we'll take Anthony Davis, 31-year-old, injury prone, big man who is good. Yeah, insane. I know we're not an NBA podcast, but I'm sure we'll revisit it if the Mavs and Lakers meet in the playoffs, because that will be box office. I haven't looked at schedule. I'm sure they play again probably before the season ends too.
They play
Both in the West.
twice.
They play twice. Okay.
One in LA, one in Dallas.
Okay, so there you go. You'll have a Luka return to Dallas too. Yeah, crazy. I could talk for hours about this, but obviously we're a Mizzou podcast.
TNT.
On
That's
TNT.
flexed.
Oh my god.
ESPN for the April 9th game.
Yeah, that's probably very fitting.
That will be heavily.
Oh yeah, look at the prices for some of these tickets already skyrocketing.
Yeah. I will be locked into those games. At least the one in Dallas when he comes back. I mean,
$231. Also, it's in LA.
yeah. Staples Center. Or sorry, the crypto.com arena, as we have to call it now. Yeah, nuts trade. Sophie Cunningham and Luka Doncic both on the move. All right, my headline this week, going back to SEC hoops, it reads, Arkansas topples Kentucky in John Calipari's return to Rupp. Yes, that was the other kind of marquee, or one of the other marquee games from the weekend. Saturday night, the nightcap of the SEC slate was John Calipari's return to Rupp Arena as the coach of Arkansas, and the Razorbacks went in there and pummeled Kentucky. Pretty wild, obviously. He had pretty mixed reception. I know he was booed when he got off the bus. I think there was kind of a mix in the arena itself. He had a good quote after that. My favorite one was, he said basically at points he looked up at the scoreboard and like his heart dropped because Kentucky was losing. And he like forgot in the moment that he's now the coach of Arkansas, but kind of a last laugh moment maybe for Coach Cal. I know Arkansas isn't very good, but to go in there and beat them, I mean, pretty good stuff for him. They shot 52% from three in this game.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like I just kind of one of those emotional wins that you kind of get. Kenny pulling up the iconic John Calipari walking out of the SEC Network interview as Mizzou fans chanted, "Cal, you suck," at him. They don't really do those interviews anymore either, so maybe this had something to do with it. But no, that's one of those kind of just, throw the records out games. I thought that was going to be the case in Duke UNC as well, but this was a emotional game, clearly. Props to Arkansas, I guess. I thought they were going to get their doors blown off, but this sometimes the records, the rest of your season just doesn't matter in an emotional one like this.
Emotional win. Yeah, we'll see how they fare going forward, I guess. But there you go, Cal. Congrats on the coming into Arkansas. Maybe he'll take the Louisville job next. Pull a Patino. All right, that's all I've got for the unwritten rule. Payton, do you have a joke for us to finish the show?
This one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. Guys, how did the piano get locked out of its car?
I forgot its keys.
Yep, pretty much. It lost its keys.
Yeah.
That's pretty much
Nice one, Jack.
pretty much the same thing. So
Thanks.
Well done, Jack.
Thanks, guys. All right, that'll do it for the unwritten rule. Let's see how Mizzou does against Tennessee. I got kind of fired up talking about the Volunteers, and I will probably get fired up watching it. And we'll see how Mizzou can fare on the road. We'll see if another NBA star gets traded that we can talk about. Maybe Sophie Cunningham actually gets flipped to the Las Vegas Aces. I don't know. Yeah, that'll do it for the unwritten rule for another show. We'll be back on Friday. We'll recap Tennessee, look ahead to A&M as well in this big stretch for Mizzou men's hoops. Until then, I thought Kenny was going to put me on the solo screen, but I think he's plotting against me this time. Oh, there we go. All right, see you guys later.